Green gram, commonly called mung or mung bean, is one of the most popular pulses across the world. By cultivating green gram, farmers also enrich their soil. But many farmers lose their crop due to pests and diseases during harvest and storage. Green gram requires proper care during harvest and storage, as we will learn in this video from farmers in India. You can harvest green gram 65 to 70 days after sowing. Start harvesting when the pods are fully matured. But do not wait for all the pods to ripen. The proper time to harvest is when the pods dry and change from green to brownish black and the lower leaves become yellowish and dry. If you harvest before the pods are mature, you will usually get a lower yield, more immature seeds and poor grain quality, and more chance of getting insect pests during storage.
मुगाच्या शेंगा तोडण्याच्या वेळेस
If it rains a lot at the time of harvesting, then we don't harvest the pods. Because of the rain, the pods will get wet, and they do not dry out quickly. They may develop molds.
But when green gram pods are harvested too late, the pods open and expose the grains. During humid nights, fungal diseases and pests like mites may attack the grains. If the pods are too dry, then the grains may scatter. It is best to do 2 rounds of harvest. At first, handpick only the dry and mature pods. Keep the harvested pods on a tarpaulin in the sun for 2 to 3 days. Move the pods indoors at night, or else the pods will take more time to dry because of the cold air. After drying, put the dried pods in a gunny or in a cloth bag and keep the bag in the shade. Depending on the weather, you can do a second round of harvest after 5 to 7 days if the weather is clear. But when it is raining, it may take up to 15 days before you can harvest a second time. Dry the newly harvested pods in the bright sun for 2 to 3 days. Turn the pods regularly so they dry evenly. After harvesting all the pods, you can cut the leftover plants with a sickle in case you want to use them for animal fodder or for making compost. If you have a large field, you can use a rotavator to incorporate the crop residues in the soil as green manure. Use a stick to thresh the pods along with the dried pods you harvested earlier. Keep all the pods on a tarpaulin and beat them with a stick to separate the grains from the pods.
मुगाच्या शेंगा वाळल्यानंतर त्या जोडून घेतो आणि पहिल्यांदा चाळणीने
After drying the pods, we thresh them. Then we sift them to remove the empty pods and other plant residues. We winnow the grains to remove any small, leftover particles. And dust from the grains and we get a clean grain.
आणि कचरा निघून जातो आणि ते धूळ निघून जाते आणि म्हणून हा धान्य स्वच्छ होतं ते.
When you have a big harvest, you can use a threshing machine to thresh the pods. You can use the leftover empty pods as fodder for your livestock or add them to your compost. Collect the grains and dry them in the sun for at least 2 days on the tarpaulin. Stir the grains regularly for even drying and bring them indoors at night.
आम्ही मूग उन्हामध्ये वाळवत टाकतो.
We keep the grains in the sun for drying. When the grains are not properly dried, the moisture in the seed and the humidity in the storeroom will cause the grains to get moldy, and pests such as the pulse beetle will develop in the grains.
भुंगी लागण्याची शक्यता असते, तेव्हा आम्ही वाळवूनच ठेवतो.
मूग साठवण्याआधी आम्ही ते व्यवस्थित वाळून घेतो.
Before storage, we always dry the grains in the sun. We bite a few grains, and if they are hard to crack, then they are dry enough for storage. The time needed for drying depends on the weather.
हे धान्य वाळलेले आहे ते धान्य साठवण्यासाठी योग्य असते. धान्य वाळवण्याचा वेळ हा वातावरणावर अवलंबून असतो. धान्य व्यवस्थित वाळल्यानंतर आम्ही ते धान्याच्या खोलीमध्ये ठेवतो.
Now let us see how to prepare our storage room. Check your storage room for leaks and repair them if necessary, as you don't want rainwater to damage your grain. Keep the area clean so it does not attract rodents. The storage room should have a window to allow the air to circulate. Ventilation ensures a uniform temperature throughout the storage room. Without ventilation, temperature differences in the stored grain will create moisture. Before storing the pulses, select the best seed for the next sowing season. Use 2 types of sieves to select the best seed for storage. First, use a fine sieve to remove the small and unhealthy seeds. Then use a sieve with a larger mesh to select solid and healthy grains. If you only need a small quantity of seed, you can select healthy and solid seeds by hand. Good quality seeds will give you a good crop. Put the selected seed in a tub. Add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil for 1 kilogram of seed. Mix it well with both hands. Take an earthen pot to store the seed. Earthen pots are porous and keep the seed cool and fresh. Add half a handful of fresh neem leaves and add 4 to 5 dried red chillies at the bottom of the pot. Add the seed and again add half a handful of fresh neem leaves and 4 to 5 dried red chillies on top of the seed. Insects will not enter the earthen pot due to the smell of the vegetable oil, red chillies and neem leaves. Cover the earthen pot with a clean cotton cloth to let in air, which keeps the seed fresh.
आम्ही बियाणे मातीच्या मटक्यामध्ये ठेवतो. तर काही लोक
We always use an earthen pot to store green gram seed. Some farmers also use airtight metal or plastic containers, which is good for the rainy season. But because it is hot in summer, pests such as the pulse beetle can develop in the grains. That's why it is best to keep seed in an earthen pot.
त्यामुळे मातीच्या मटक्यामध्ये बियाणे ठेवणे हाच योग्य पर्याय आहे.
Keep the pot off the ground in the storage room. On top of the cloth, put a fine sieve or wire mesh to protect the seeds from rats and mice. Spread gliricidia leaves or flowers around the earthen pot. The smell will keep rats and mice away from the pot. You can also set a rat trap. After you have removed your seed, store the remaining grain that you will eat or sell later in clean gunny bags plastic bags or earthen pots. For 50 kilograms of grain, add 2 handfuls of fresh neem leaves and 1 handful of dry soap nuts, or use 1 to 2 pieces of pungent asafoetida crystals to the bottom of the empty bag. Then add the grains. Add the same ingredients on top of the grains. Soap nuts, asafoetida crystals, and neem leaves have a strong smell that repels insects. Then seal the bag with a thread.
रिठा आणि कडुलिंबाच्या वासामुळे
The strong odor of soap nuts and neem leaves keep storage pests like grain borers away. Instead of neem leaves, we can use custard apple leaves. We can also use dry red chillies, asafoetida crystals, large crystals of salt, cinnamon sticks and vegetable oil to store the grain. These ingredients are available near our home and they are safe for green gram.
Put 2 bricks or small rocks on the ground and place 2 wooden planks on top to store the bags off the floor. This allows you to easily clean the floor. By keeping the bags 1 or 2 hands above the ground and away from the walls, the air can flow around and the bags will stay dry.
We keep the grain bags from touching the wall or the floor. Because of the cold surface, molds will develop and damage the grains. We always keep the grain bags on a wooden platform.
When the grain bags come in contact with a cold surface, the cold grains will attract whatever moisture is available in the air. Because of this, molds will develop and damage the grains. So always avoid contact with the floor and the walls. Inspect your grain bags and seed pot every fortnight or every month. Every 3 to 4 months, spread the grains and seed in the sun on the tarpaulin to dry them for 1 or 2 days. Remove any infected grains and store the clean grains again. Let's review what we have learned. Start picking mature pods that are dry and change from green to brownish black. Keep the pods on a tarpaulin in the sun for 2 to 3 days. Do a second harvest after 5 to 7 days and dry the pods in the sun for 2 to 3 days. After threshing and winnowing, select the best seed for the next sowing season. Coat the seed with vegetable oil and store it in an earthen pot. Add neem leaves and dry red chillies. Cover the pot with a cotton cloth and a wire mesh. Store the grain that is to eat in clean gunny bags or containers and add neem leaves and dry soap nuts to keep away pests. Keep the earthen pot and bags off the floor and away from the walls. Inspect your seed and grain regularly and remove infected grains. By properly harvesting and storing green gram, you will have more and better quality grains. You will have more to eat, more profit, and a better crop the next season.